Here's someone that's worth watching. Okay, I can read Tagalog. I can read a fair amount of Visayan. I lived for 2 years exactly where this woman who is speaking is at. I can understand if she says gutom. I can understand if she says bahok. But she's in the central highlands of the island of Cebu. And now that technology has advanced enough that people from the central highlands of Cebu or Negros or Mindanao or someplace in Africa or even the Hopis in Arizona where remote people can get on Facebook and talk. People in the central mountains, Mexico. When you look at the Visayan that she speaks and that she writes, it looks like another language relative to the Visayan that's in Cebu City. The Visayan that's in Cebu City is going to be a lot closer to the national language of Tagalog. Whereas what she's writing and what she's saying, for me, is practically incomprehensible. Okay, lived there, dealt with the language. You, the only thing that you can really do is listen to keywords. Like one of the keywords, pagmata. Okay, you hear pagmata, you know, which is a Malayo Spanish verb, a Spanish loan verb. I'm gonna kill you. Okay, I kopag mata. Okay, now, okay, that eko magutom. Ba, the question particle. Eko magutom. I'm hungry. Basuk basuk. I'm full. I've eaten enough. I mean, you know. Now, people who tell you that you can get the first 500 words of any language cheaply, they are only speaking one of the 600 well codified languages. So there's like maybe 7 or 8,000 languages that we know of that are spoken, but only about 600 of them are well codified. And if you look at the ones that Google Translate, which is my translator preference, you look at the ones that Google Translate actually deals with, and you're talking about less than 50 languages. So that's what you're facing. So you're on here and you're listening to some guy, and I was listening to Calvin's channel, and he had a guy that was in Llano del Norte and in Zamboanga. He was in Llano del Norte, and he was in between Morawi City and Dipolog, and he's telling the whole world on Calvin Roach's channel, Sunshine Shoulders, I got a girl from the province. Okay, and if she's on the northern coast of Mindanao, from Cagayan de Oro, Senegal City, all the way to Zamboanga City, that is not a provincial girl. That is a city girl. In the Philippines, you have municipalities, and the municipalities are rated by size. So you got a major municipality, you got a medium municipality, and you have a small, teeny, tiny municipality, and you have some places that have a name on them, but you can't even find them on the map unless you've been there. And this lady, she's from Danao. Now, what Danao is famous for, gun running. The United States during World War II turned Danao City into the Philippines into a strategic how can I say this? They turned it into a strategic insurgency location against the Japanese. So somehow the Americans would get munitions into Davao City, and then the people in Davao City who were really good with working with metals would turn the munitions into arms. And it's so good these people are so good in turning metal into firearms in the Nile City to this day, is that you can bring a chunk of metal to them and they'll make it look just like a brand new Smith and Wesson. You know, it's I mean any anything that you want, except for maybe a thermonuclear weapon, they can make it for you in Denial City. Okay, so that's where this woman is from. And like I say, Denial City is just famous for this. Denial City is like the last, that's the last bit of city, that's the last frontier when you're getting out of Cebu City. And there's no, you're not gonna go like in southern Cebu, and you're gonna reach the island of Negros, and you're gonna reach where Paul and all those guys are living over in Dumaguete. You're not gonna reach any Dumaguete. There's no Dumaguete to be reached. It's just basically nothingness all the way to Manila. Once you get past Danao, once you get past Danao City. And so this lady, she's from Danao. But here's the point. Someone that is on the northern coast of Mindanao, that is not a provincial girl. If she's in the interior, if she's in the interior, 50, 60, 70 kilometers outside of Marawi, outside of Cagayan de Oro, outside of General Santos, outside of Davao, those are provincial girls. And you get into these areas and you'll find where people are still living in caves. In this particular place where this lady is shooting this video, there are limestone caves, and you'll still see to this day where the limestone cave is burnt out from where an American went in with what are those things called in World War II? With a flamethrower. The Japanese were held up in these limestone caves up here in this area, and the Americans would come in because they're honeycombed. They'd come in with flamethrowers and burn the whole cave out. And you can still see where the caves, this is 70 years from its occurrence, you can still see where the petrol flames still scar the caves. And for years and years in this area, there were legends that there were still Japanese guys held up in some of those limestone caves. And in fact, in one particular island in the Pacific, actually a guy was held up, and like 40, 50 years after the war was over, somebody finally stumbled across the cave, and he came out for some reason. They said, hey, you know what, the war's over. And the guy was just absolutely shocked. He was a true soldier. He had held out that long. But that's how remote the world really is. The world is really, really a remote place. You still just, when you get outside of Western Europe, the United States, when you get outside of these places and you get off the beaten path, you're practically back in the Stone Age. So you don't have to go to the Amazon jungle to go back to the Stone Age. You can be in Mexico and go to the Copper Canyon, and you'll be back in the Stone Age. You can be in in some regions of Alaska, and you're back in the Stone Age. You can be in the middle of Montana, and you're back in the Stone Age. Now, the difference of it is that the United States has more robust transportation systems, so you can live off grid and basically be living off grid and be in the Stone Age, but you're only like maybe 20 miles from a gas station. Okay, in this picture where this lady is, you're not 20 miles away from the gas station. There are no gas stations. There's some guy standing on the side of the road that's ported gasoline up there, and he's standing on the side of the road, and he's got a Coke bottle, a 2 or 3 liter Coke bottle full of gas, and he's selling that gas at 3 or 4 or 5, 6 times the price down at the pump. That's how he makes his living. He's like got himself a little private gas station. But here's the point of this. Watch this video. Then I'll give you some more commentary.
Mayor, oy, ano naman tayo sa challenging part, Mayor, oy? Bit naman tayo sa, Jesus! In town! Hapon na ang anime. Nalawa ko na sa kaon. Ginoo po. Ginoo po. Apoy. Ang drug ng saka man rin, kapangpanganan niya. Siya wala lang ginagin mo sa katolis kasi sa bako. Ginoo po. Apoy. Iwang kaindahan, guys. Awang dahan. Kaniwang anak. Abog anak. Apoy, ginoo po. Nindot lagi siya tanaw sa kamera, day, pero kami nagsakay diri, gikabuhi na po. Apoy, padaplin. Apoy, Mayor. Ano na naman tayo sa daplin? Apoy. Mayor, in town, ginoo po. Dong, ipadaplin, dong. Ginoo po akong pulba. Nagkapinpin na ba niya? Dali ating, in town. Apoy. Mayor, oy, ano naman tayo sa challenging part, Mayor, oy? Bit naman tayo sa, Jesus! In town!
Okay, you see to the left where you have that house to the left where they've dug out. See, they in this particular part of the Philippines, you go in, you dig a deep hole, and that deep hole is going to be like one of the interior walls of your house. And let's see if we can magnify this. See how the person has dug the hole. Look, they got water barrels, they got brick, and they've made this hole that they've dug one of the external walls. Okay, that's how they do it in that part of the Philippines, and it's highly effective. But here's what you're not really focusing on. This little road that you think is a little road is actually an extension of the Cebu highway network. When you get from, like, let's say Bourbon, and you're gonna go westward, you're gonna go from the city of Bourbon and you're gonna go westward, there was supposed to be a highway that was built from Bourbon going westward and going all the way down to Toledo, but no one ever finished the road. So the road dead ends about 5, 6, 7 miles outside of Bourbon, and then after that you're on your own here. Now also in Danao, you go into Danao and you go westward, and all of the roads are going to also dead end and lead to this, and then they're going to go into the Central Highlands, well, the North Central Highlands of Cebu. Okay, this is why you tell people See, there's two types of people. There's people that go to these places and all they do is have tour guides. Like, for example, Austin Holloman went to the Amazon and he had a tour guide. And you could tell by what was going on with the tour guide that he was never ever 3 or 4 miles away from civilization. Okay, he wasn't. There was really no risk. He was just in some fairly tall trees. That's it. He wasn't out there, because if he was out there, you know, if he was out there, there would have been gunfire, because he would have came upon a gold miner's claim. He would have came upon the indigenous people. I mean, he if he was really out there, he wasn't out there. Okay. It doesn't look like you're out there in this particular film. But the thing that you got to understand is the rainy season. This road is impossible during the rainy season. And then this guy has his house built right on the road, in violation of everything that the province of Cebu says. In absolute violation. I knew a guy that built a house along the side of the road just like this, and he didn't want anyone to pass his house on the national road. This is a national road, even though it looks like a trail. And so what he did is that the hole that he dug here for his house, he dug the hole all the way across the road. He dug the hole all the way across the road. And whenever any of us would come to that area, we would have to walk all the way around the hole that he had put in the national road. And the reason that he put the hole in the national road, you talked to him, he said he put the hole in the national road because that's where his house was, and he didn't want anyone to be disturbing him. Now, what this guy is driving along in, here, take a look at this. Now she's scared. Not scared like, okay, here's the thing in the Philippines. When you're in a dangerous situation, you can kind of express fear, but you express fear in terms of a chiste. So she's being chismoso here. And in Spanish, un chiste y chismoso means joke, but it can also mean gossip in Filipino Spanish. But it's a way of talking. It's a way of talking where you can be in a deadly situation, and it can be a matter of life and death, but you're not supposed to let that bother you, because you're a devoted Catholic, and all men die, and Jesus saves us all, and so therefore death is absolutely irrelevant. And probably you're an animist, and if you're an animist, death is also irrelevant, because you live in every blade of grass, you live in the clouds, you live in the microorganisms, you live in the flies. I mean, your consciousness ceases, but your existence continues. That's more or less why you're in an extremely dangerous situation. Now, this is not the Appalachian Mountains. This is not West Virginia. So this is not like you're going through a holler. You got to go through a holler to really experience what I'm saying here. A holler, you're on a road someplace. The city of Pittsburgh has a lot of hollers for a major metropolis, and you're driving across a little bridge or a little street in Pittsburgh, and you look down, and it's a 2,000-foot drop down into the holler. Okay, so you don't have any extreme drops in the highlands of the Philippines. You got maybe a 50, 60, 70-foot drop. But what happens is this guy is in a golf cart. He's in a golf cart, something that a vehicle that you would take in the U.S. and you would drive along a flat golf course. But he's in fairly mountainous terrain, and this path has no bedding, no gravel, no nothing. Every once in a while they throw a couple rocks down, but basically this path is not firm, and it always is either washing away or is washed away. And so he's going around a corner here. He's a local, so he kind of knows. But most often, you don't know if part of the road is washed out up there, along this curve. He knows. She doesn't know. So he's driving along and it's washed out up along this curve. She doesn't know, and he's gonna snake through he's gonna put his car up an embankment. He's gonna put his vehicle up an embankment, and he's gonna snake through a really small gap. Well, what happens is that oftentimes you're trying to snake through the really small gap, and your vehicle turns over, and the people in the vehicle die. Seen it happen all the time. The provincial policeman, he's riding along in one of these contraptions, vehicle turns over, his neck is broken, he's dead. Everybody's, it's tragic. Another guy, everyone evacuates the small villages. So we all got out of the small villages. We evacuated. We went into the city of Bourbon, where you could actually survive a bagyo, a typhoon. Well, one guy didn't hit, because there were no cell phones back in these days. He didn't hit a cell. He didn't hit a weather report. He didn't know, and he was out there in his carabao, and no one ever saw him again. And what happens is that on a map, this looks like this place is far from the sea, but it's not. It's not. So what happens is that a little arroyo, a little stream, will turn into a raging torrent, and water will cover this entire area. And so you're out there in your carabao or whatever, you get swept into one of those arroyos, and you get swept straight out to sea. You and the carabao become, fish food. That's what happened to this guy. That's why you're trying to explain to these guys that, hey, that girl that you say is from the province is not from the province. If you meet a girl that's from the province, and I knew women that were from the province, this is the province. And you don't see YouTube videos of guys that are actually in the province. They are like in a medium-sized metropolitan area, with cement, with comforts at home, with a small hotel, with panderias. I mean, out here where they're at, none of that. So you come out here and you watch this lady, watch her videos, and she does not have the proper footwear for where she's going. She doesn't. Even she is a native, she needs a pair of jungle boots. She doesn't know that. She doesn't know that. She's under the assumption that nothing is going to happen while she's in this vehicle, if you can even call it a vehicle. Golf carts, they're not meant to go over extreme bumps, handle extreme terrain. They turn over really easily. So this thing turns over, it becomes inoperable. She has to walk back there's no way that she can walk back with the footgear that she has on. She can walk back better than a person from America. That's true. Because the person from America, unless they're a hiker, they're hiking the Appalachian, they're hiking in Colorado, they got a yurt built somewhere. Unless you get someone that's an extreme survivalist in the United States, in their whole life, they've spent their whole life walking on pavement. Their entire life. And they've never taken a step onto the type of terrain that you see here. So cameras are deceiving. You get on this terrain, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. Now, mountain bike. You see a guy in this video, and watch it again.
Apoy. Ang dami traffic sa kaman ay kapampangan niya. So wala man gid dito sa katolis kasi sa bako. Inuko. Iwang kaing daan guys. Awang daan kaniwang anak. Abog anak. Apoy gid ko. Nindot na siya tanaw sa kamera day pero kami nagsakay diri gikabuhi na ko. Uy, padapit. Apoy, Mayor. Ano man naman tanis na plane? Apoy.
Now, see how she panicked when he went off the road and he went to a left to a washout? See, that's what I'm saying. He went straight to a washout. And from that washout, you have a 75-foot fall. Now, this 75-foot fall, here's the significance of this. All of that vegetation down there, you think that it's just normal vegetation. But if you've been listening to these guys that, that are basically just, city slickers, they don't tell you that if that vegetation and those vines touch you in this area, they're going to cut your forearms and they're going to cut your arms. Now, once you get a cut in this area, and you got to understand, that person who has a house over there to the left that's dug in, he's going to the bathroom. And you try and tell people this, and it's hard for them to understand this. His drinking water is going to be down below. It's going to be in this picture. It's going to be down there in that lower area in some type of a spring. But what he's going to do, and you tell people don't do this, but it's hard for them to understand it. He's going to defecate up there by his house. And when he defecates up there by his house, every microorganism that's inside of him is going to go straight down that slope. So if he's sick, everybody's sick. Now, you got chickens running around everywhere. So let's say that you get some sort of avian flu in the chickens. They're defecating also, and it's going straight down that slope. Okay, that's how you get COVID-19 emerging out of Asia. It's not that it emerged out of Wuhan, out of a market in Wuhan. It's that a bat defecates. And it doesn't mean that the bat defecated in a Vincent Rocket Yellow scenario. The bat defecated and the feces hit a guy's head and then that led to the contagion. No, the bat defecated. The feces went downhill into the water supply. Maybe a pig, a chicken, anything that is edible contacted with the virus. Someone killed the animal, like a baboy, killed it, started eating it. Could be chicken, whatever. Could be or some other type of wild animal that's edible. They eat the animal, didn't cook it right, didn't treat it right. All of a sudden, you got a worldwide pandemic. That's how it actually happens. Because the guy that built that house way up there on the road, he is just absolutely inconsiderate. He's living in the Stone Age, and he's concerned about one person, himself. And basically, to put it in English terms, you get up here and you got a bunch of lawless hillbillies. I mean, it's bad to say that, but that's the way it is. It's a bunch of lawless hillbillies. You know, you know, and you get up here and you won't see anybody that looks like they're from Europe, America, Africa. That they're not gonna look like that once you get up here, and you won't hear English or Spanish ever again, and you won't hear Tagalog up here. You won't hear pure Visayan up here. You're gonna hear an absolute regional dialect that's practically incomprehensible. So I'm just showing you how you had a washout, and the guy goes to the left. He goes to the left into the washout off the path, and she's panicking. But there's something else that I got to show you. Watch.
Ayun, in taon, ginoo ko. Dong, ipadaplin, dong.
Right there.
Ginoo ko akong kulba. Nagkapinpin na ba ni? Dali ating, in taon.
Okay, see that? Now, this is why you don't want. You have all these guys, and the guys say, "Oh, I got a scooter. Oh, I got a bike. I got a motorcycle." You hear all of these guys in this video saying that, and that's how you know that they're not out there in. They're not out there in it. They're riding around on pavement. They're in Dumaguete City. They're in they're in Bourbon. They're in the city. That particular bike that he has, he thinks that because Suzuki or Kawasaki or whoever it is, he thinks that because they said that this is an all-terrain bike, he actually bought one of those things and took it into this terrain. And now he's pushing it. He's pushing it because he's having problems with it. So, what on earth are you doing with a 5, 6, 7, 800-pound bike? Let's say that this is even 150 or 300-pound bike. I mean, this guy weighs 120 pounds. He's 5'4". He's 120 pounds. The bike is more than he weighs. He can't pick this thing up. Now, so basically he's rolling it. He cannot port it. So if it runs out of gas, look at this terrain. He can go downhill, but the minute he hits a uphill, he's finished. And I've been here, so I know these are rolling hills. They roll. So he might be able to make it down this downhill, but how's it gonna get back up when the hill rolls back up? Then he can't control this thing, and he hits a washout or he hits the edge of the road. That bike is gonna go straight off the edge of the road, and it's going down 75 feet. Sometimes even in this area, it can go down 200 feet. So he's lost his bike, and chances are he's gonna be holding on to it and chasing it, and he's gonna tumble down right with it. Watch. See? Now he was going down, but somebody's coming, so now he's got to push the bike back up backwards to get it out of the way. See? Crazy. Watch.
Mayor Roy, ano naman tayo sa challenging part, Mayor Roy? Dip naman ka sa... Ah! Jesus! In town!
Now, look at that narrow point in the road where on both sides you got to drop. Watch. That's why you tell these guys, look, get a mountain bike. Get a mountain bike. Why do you want a mountain bike? Number one, it's not going to run out of gas. Number two, if it does run out of gas, it's portable. You know, all you got to do is carry tires with you. It'll handle this terrain. And you're talking about maximum. It's maximum 50 miles, and I think it might be only 25 miles, but it's maximum 50 miles that you would go from one side of this island of Cebu to the other in this area. It's going to be between 50 and 25 miles. I don't know exactly what it is, but you'd have to look it up. You can, with stuff gets hard. You got a tent, you got a mountain bike. You can make it 50 miles from the East Coast to the West Coast. If you got to go from the West Coast to the East Coast, you can make it 50 miles on a mountain bike. You try and use a motorized vehicle, the only thing that you're going to get is speed. If the conditions are really, really, really good, okay, you might make it. But if you got a motorized vehicle, and this is what people don't understand, if you meet someone with a motorized vehicle, all you're going to do is tie your mountain bike to the motorized vehicle, and he's going to haul it a certain number of miles. You're going to pay him some money, 5, 6, 700 pesos. Thank you very much. Unstrap your mountain bike and ride on. But if something happens to the motorized vehicle, and you got to get someplace in a hurry, someone's leg is broken, someone's head is busted open, someone's in critical condition because the vehicle is turned over, you're going to pull your bike out of the rubble, you're going to jump out of there, and you're going to be able to ride to the municipal hospital, which is within 12 or 13 miles from this area, a remote municipal hospital. You're going to be able to get over there. Might take you 3 hours, but 3 hours, an hour back by vehicle, 4-hour window, that could be the difference between life and death for an injured party. That's why you have to have an independent means of transportation that does not rely on electricity or gasoline. It's just essential. It's just essential. And you can say to yourself, well, I'm going to take a bike, I'm going to take a folding bike. You are not going to be able to ride a folding bike in this particular terrain. You're not going to be able to ride any form of like one of those Segway scooter type deals in this type of terrain. It's just not going to handle it. And it's going to wind up being a 75-pound to a 50-pound weight that you're going to have to carry. It's, I got a Segway. It has a 10-mile range. That's it. That's it. The only a bike has an unlimited range. As long as you can put food and water into the bike's motor, it will run forever. Now, it just so happens that the bike's motor happens to be you, and so as long as you live with repairs, the bike will run as long as you live. A car will not do that. A motorcycle will not do that. It won't run forever. A bike will. It's a simple mechanical device that can basically save your life or someone else's life when you're in one of these situations. Now, that does not imply that you, for any particular point in time in your life, need to go back here where this woman is back into. You may not have to go back into the Amazon. You may not have to go. You might not have to go off the path over at Lava Hot Springs. You might just be in Lava Hot Springs. You might not have to go off the beaten path in Flagstaff. You might never have to go into the deep Sonora in Vegas. You might never have to do that. You might never be in Manistee and have a severe snowstorm. All of the power goes off, and you gotta, for some reason, you gotta strap on your snowshoes, and maybe you got an emergency. You gotta strap on your snowshoes, and you gotta go out there in it, or you gotta get some cross country skis, and you gotta go out there in it. I mean, in the northern tier, I always had access to cross country skis and snowshoes. I mean, those things are essential. I know a good pair of snowshoes are going to cost you $150, and you may never use them. But in an emergency situation, you don't have cross country skis, you don't have snowshoes, it's going to be very bad for you and for the people around you. So if you got the energy, and everybody knows who's got the energy, people, when disaster strikes, people come and they're going to knock on the door other people that they see that are getting in their workout, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? Okay, that day has come. I see you running all the time. I see you on that bike all the time. Okay, we got to go, and we got to carry, they're about to run out of water at the store. All of the water is down. It's not going to be back on. And this actually happened in Texas. Electricity's down, water is down. The store is going to close at 6:00. We can't get over there in a car. If we don't get over here and get candles, lights, batteries, water right now, it's going to all be sold out. Here's $50. $50 for you. Here's $100 to go get the stuff. Can you do it? Okay. That's how the world works. You can't be the guy. It's going to be best if you're strong enough and people are asking you to help them than for you to be the guy that is asking for the help. The guy who's asking for the help is in the dire situation. The guy who is asking to be helped, he can only make an enemy. Nope, I'm not going to help you, neighbor, because I'm going to help that neighbor. You're making a choice. Or you tell both neighbors, nope, I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to help you. I can only carry so much stuff. I'm going to that store, and I'm going to hike back with stuff for my family. If you were in a situation where you did not have water, this, that, and other, Okay, I'm in Mexico, and everybody's buying water, buying water, buying water because they don't trust the municipal water supply. So they're all buying water. So I go on to artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. ChatGPT tells me, look, take the municipal water, set it out in the sun for 24 hours. After that, it's drinkable. Now, you have frequent power outages in Mexico, all parts. Doesn't matter what it is. And in addition to frequent power outages, many times you turn on the tap, no water. So I go to the gym yesterday. Everybody's in there working out. Everybody brings water with them. But you can't bring an unlimited supply of water with you. You can only carry so much water. But we're in the gym and there's no water in the whole sector of the city. No water. No bathing water, no drinking water, no water. So I go, and right on the floor I got maybe 12 or 13 bottles of water, and I get water. So I go outside where I got my water that's getting ready in the sun, and a gallon is missing. Okay, so the neighbors, now they've discovered, okay, this guy is right. This is the best way to get water. So now they go out when I sit my water out, and they grab my water to do whatever they are doing with their water. But all the time they're throwing away plastic jugs. So I go to Walmart, right? I go to Walmart and I'm looking at a big plastic jug. So the guys that provide water in Mexico, you can get one of those big plastic jugs for 150 to 100 pesos from the company. I look at the same jug in Walmart in the United States, and they want $13 for a plastic jug. $13. Now, you are not going to see plastic jugs sold for $13 anyplace else. But in this region, you're going to have plastic jugs sold for $13. And why? Not because there's a problem with the water supply in the United States, but because people take the jug to Mexico. And then that's the backup water supply. Okay, hope some of this makes sense. You're watching YouTube. Some guy said he met a girl from the province. He doesn't look like he can run a 10-minute mile. Doesn't look like he can bench press his body weight. Doesn't look like he can squat his body weight. I mean, doesn't look like he can fight his way out of a brown paper sack. He doesn't mention that he has any survival skills whatsoever, and he's telling you that he's met a Filipina from the province. He has not met a Filipina from the province. That is not what has occurred. He's met a Filipina from a city that is not a big city, but it's still a city. And then when he sets up camp with her, he's setting up camp with her in a city. One of the only YouTubers, well, there's two YouTubers that you can basically trust when they're talking about the province, more or less. And I forgot the name of the one couple, but they're having a baby. And I think they live in this region of Cebu, and it's an American guy, and it's the woman, and they're having a baby. And I mean, and she's 40 and he's 67, but they're having a baby. God bless them, thank God. And then you have what's his name? You have Uncle Jesse. Uncle Jesse lives in this exact region in this exact situation. So when you hear these guys and they're, like they're criticizing Uncle Jesse. Okay, Uncle Jesse, he's a poor guy and he's living in a house and he can't even finish it and blah 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 and blah blah blah. What they don't understand is that Uncle Jesse is living in one of the most remote places in the world. You don't drive up to Uncle Jesse's house with a sack of sand, a sack of cement. You don't drive up to Uncle Jesse's house with premix. You don't drive up there with premix and then you unload the brick. You had a little conveyor thing and they unload the brick or they unload the block. Bzzz, and then the brick and the block is just sitting there and all you got to do is just take out your trowel and just start laying brick. It doesn't work that way over at Jesse's place. That ain't how it works. That ain't how it works. People are saying, well, in the Philippines you build in stages. Mexico, you build in stages, so you build a little bit this month and you build a little bit that month and you build a little bit. Okay. You build the exact same way in the remote areas of Idaho. You want to build a cabin. You're going to do the exact same thing. Remote area in Alaska, same thing. Remote area in the UP, same thing. Remote area up near the boundary waters, same thing. Remote area in Quebec, same thing. Remote area in Ontario, same thing. Remote area in the Swiss Alps, the Italian Alps, the French Alps, same damn thing. Same thing. It's not that Uncle Jesse is primitive or someone's primitive or something like that. Africa, same thing. It's called infrastructure. The Hilton in Cleveland is not all over the world. That is an illusion that everywhere on earth there is a Hilton. Running water, great service, steam bath, five-star meals, anything you want to eat, seafood, filet mignon, exotic Japanese beef. No. Up here, you're getting raw fish. You're getting fish and you're getting fingerlings because everything is all fished out. So fish up here don't have a chance to grow. So you're getting fingerlings. You walk straight over that ridge and you go, see that ridge there? And I can tell by where the sun is. And you go over there to about 20 miles to the west. To the north, to the northwest, and you're going to find somebody where they're going to be offloading fish from fishing boats, and you can buy a whole bunch of fingerling fish over there. It's 20 miles away from this location. You can go 7 miles in the opposite direction and hit the sea, and you can also, 7 to 15 miles, and you can also hit someplace where they're selling fingerlings by the sea. But here's the thing. Let's say you're this guy. Let me get back to his house. See him over there to the left of the frame where his house is. Where's he gonna get his fish? See, where's he gonna get his fish?